Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 177. We're going to talk about Ski Wolf from 2008. And I watched this on Tubi, and I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. You can find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. The film was directed by Chris Seaver. It was written by Casey Boker and Chris Seaver. FX makeup was done by Jeremy Cottrell. Chris Seaver is an ultra-low-budget comedy film director specializing in affectionate parodies of 80s teen movies, horror films, and pop culture. Following in the footsteps of David Nelson, Fred Olen Ray, and among others, Seaver wrote, directed, produced, and often starred in dozens of shot-on-video features between 1999 and 2015, including cult favorites like Mulva, Zombie Ass Kicker, The Karaoke Kid, Terror at Blood Fart Lake, and the Teen Ape series. His films featured crude humor, intentionally amateurish production values, recurring cast members, often friends and local actors, and an encyclopedic knowledge of the genres that he spoofed. Shot on consumer-grade equipment with minimal budgets, his work embraced its DIY origins. Since 2015, he's focused on television, including It Crept from the 80s. Casey Boker became a recognizable face in the low-budget picture repertoire company, appearing in multiple films alongside other recurring cast members who formed the tight-knit creative community around Seaver's productions. Behind the camera, Boker took on directing and writing duties for various low-budget pictures projects. Jeremy Cottrell did makeup for 2 Cleaver movies and acted in 3 as well. The cast includes Casey Boker as Scott Bateman, aka the Ski Wolf. This entire cast is B-movie mainstays and low-budget picture regulars. I am afraid I cannot recommend this. It's the kind of movie that people tell me is better if you're under the influence of some sort of mind-altering substance. I'm not an expert on that, but I doubt it's going to help much. The only thing this did for me is make me want to watch the much better films from mostly the 80s that inspired it, and we'll discuss them later. The film was produced by Low Budget Pictures during Seaver's most prolific period. By 2008, he had refined his zero-budget comedy to an art form over nearly 2 decades. Reportedly shot in just 3 days, typical of his rapid-fire approach, the production centered on gathering friends, having fun, and cranking out content quickly. A remarkable aspect of low-budget pictures was its cast and crew loyalty. Many of the same people appeared across dozens of Seaver's films, returning purely for the joy of it. So let's go over the synopsis. Scott Bateman and his group of ski bum friends show up to enjoy one final weekend at Uncle Billy's ski resort. Uncle Billy is losing the resort to the villainous Ralston Zabka XIV. Zabka, his girlfriend, Fantasia Snow, and his sycophant friends mock Scott and his oddball crew, including obvious love interest Katie. After a prank at a party involving laxative-laced liquor, Scott ends up shitting in the woods, and something attacks him. Over the next day, he experiences several signs of transformation. His pubic hair grows long, and he develops fangs and claws. His crew goof off on the mountain, while Zabka plots to humiliate Scott again. A huge snowball triggers Scott's transformation into the Ski Wolf, who dances. Ski Wolf lives to party. Ski Wolf challenges Zabka to a race on Mount Doom. Ski Wolf bets a porn magazine. Zabka bets the mountain and his life. Of course, Fantasia Snow has sex with Ski Wolf and all of his friends, which upsets Katie. Ski Wolf keeps acting like an ass, driving his friends away. Oh, and he kills some random dude. Zabka acts like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Scott sees the error of his ways and apologizes. Scott and Katie become friends with benefits. The film culminates in the classic race for the mountain. Scott races as himself and is winning before he wipes out and eventually loses. In a Deus Ex Machina ending, Scott's dad left him a chest of gold, allowing Scott to win the auction and buy the mountain for himself. Do not expect elaborate makeup effects or transformation sequences in Ski Wolf. This is a film made for essentially no money, and the werewolf effects reflect that reality. The wolf appearance is minimal. Basic facial hair, a simple face prosthetic, teeth, claws, and contact lenses at most. Honestly, given what I expect the budget was, I think the makeup team did better than I would have predicted. It's not good, but it's not the tragedy that I was expecting. The transformation isn't played for horror or spectacle, but rather for comedic effect. This follows the Teen Wolf model, where becoming a werewolf is treated as gaining a cool superpower rather than a terrifying curse. One interesting trick Seaver employed is to use a lens to artificially stretch the middle of the visual frame. Well, he probably used a digital effect to mimic the lens, but the point still stands. This lets him, cheaply, suggest that body parts are elongated. He used it on teeth and fingers in the single transformation shot that we got. Now, Ski Wolf does not concern itself with traditional werewolf mythology, or any werewolf mythology. It's challenging to conclude since the film is not primarily concerned with lycanthropy. There's no exploration of curses, silver bullets, or the tragic duality of man and beast. The werewolf element exists purely as a comedic device and a way to reference Teen Wolf. There's no mention of the full moon except an offhand joke while Scott is suffering from the effects of laxatives. Scott transforms at will and under stress. He seems to maintain control of his wolf form, with the troubling exception of that man that he randomly killed. Ski Wolf is an obvious mashup of two 80s comedy touchstones, Teen Wolf and Ski School. It wears its influences proudly, even the title is half of each. Both source films are teen comedies blending sports and the supernatural elements. Since Ski Wolf isn't deep enough to bother with, let's dig into the source material. The 80s was a golden age for American teen comedy. Hollywood discovered adolescent audiences that craved more than frivolous entertainment. They sought validation and representation. Two distinct subgenres emerged, the sports comedy and the supernatural comedy, among other genres as well. Both served as metaphors for adolescence, offering contrasting visions of how young people navigate the passage to adulthood. The concept of the teenager as a distinct demographic emerged after World War II. The 50s saw early attempts like Rebel Without a Cause and I Was a Teenage Werewolf in 1957. But teen-centered storytelling matured in the 80s. The PG-13 rating in 1984 gave filmmakers license to explore mature themes while staying accessible. Multiplex cinemas created spaces where teens could congregate independently. Home video allowed films to find extended lives beyond those theater runs. The architect most responsible for legitimizing teen cinema was probably John Hughes. His run from 1984 to 1987 fundamentally reshaped how Hollywood approached adolescent narratives. Starting with 16 Candles, he directed The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, then wrote and produced Pretty in Pink and Some Kind of Wonderful. Hughes captured the emotional intensity of teenagers with both popularity and artistic significance, paving the way for different subgenres to flourish. The teen sports comedy represents the most straightforward articulation of American meritocratic ideology, rooted in the template of Rocky in 1976 and refined by The Karate Kid in 1984. These films present a world where dedication and moral virtue triumph over natural talent and privilege. The formula is consistent: an underdog protagonist, typically working class, physically unimpressive and socially marginal, discovers purpose through athletic competition. Under an eccentric mentor's guidance, the hero transforms through grueling training montages, ultimately defeating an arrogant antagonist who represents everything wrong with the existing social order. Director John Avildsen, who helmed both Rocky and The Karate Kid, perfected this narrative, understanding that sports provided an ideal framework for exploring class struggle, perseverance, and redemption. What distinguishes sports comedies is the emphasis on earned transformation. The journey from loser to champion unfolds gradually, marked by visible progress, setbacks, and doubts. When Daniel LaRusso waxes cars and paints fences in The Karate Kid, meaningless tasks are revealed as building blocks of mastery, a metaphor for the hidden value of menial work. Montages compress months of effort into minutes, but never eliminate the sense that success requires sacrifice. Victory feels meaningful because it is hard-won. The climactic sporting event serves as a crucible where character is tested. Often the protagonist must choose between winning through unfair advantage and winning through authentic ability, and the films consistently reward authenticity. The mentor figures like Mr. Miyagi or Coach Norman Dale in Hoosiers share key traits. They're outsiders with unconventional methods that initially seem absurd, teaching life lessons disguised as athletic training. Their philosophy emphasizes that the real competition is internal, against one's own limitations and self-doubt, rather than any external opponent. Beneath their crowd-pleasing surfaces, these films offer some social critique. The antagonists typically represent entrenched privilege, wealthy kids from stable families, athletes groomed from childhood for success. This tension between depicting inequality and maintaining faith in a meritocracy defines the subgenre's complexity. The love interest usually serves a specific function. She represents the ultimate prize of social acceptance, gradually recognizing the protagonist's genuine character as he proves himself. Now, where sports comedies celebrate earned success, supernatural comedies explore the seductive appeal and ultimate hollowness of unearned power. Films like Teen Wolf, released in 1985, present protagonists who transform, not through training, but through accident or inheritance. Scott Howard's transformation into a werewolf offers instant solutions to every adolescent anxiety. Suddenly, he possesses athletic prowess, charisma, and confidence. The film's genius lies in recognizing that this is precisely what every teenager fantasizes about, a magical solution bypassing the hard work of self-improvement. The supernatural transformation functions here as a metaphor for puberty itself. The body changes in frightening and uncontrollable ways, new urges emerge, and the young person must navigate an identity crisis while pretending that everything is normal. The supernatural comedy distinguishes itself from horror by refusing to take the transformation entirely seriously. Teen Wolf becomes a basketball star who can dunk and attract girls, acknowledging adolescent body horror while diffusing it through comedy. What makes these films more than wish fulfillment fantasies is their engagement with corruption. The protagonist's rapid ascent inevitably leads to moral compromise. Scott neglects his loyal friend Boof, pursues the shallow popular girl, and becomes the arrogant person he once despised. Supernatural comedies are cautionary tales about shortcuts and false selves. Power acquired without effort breeds dependency and inauthenticity. When Scott wins through supernatural ability, his victories are empty. His teammates become supporting players. The popular kids are attracted to the wolf, not the person. And this creates an identity crisis. Is he Scott Howard, who happens to be a werewolf, or a werewolf wearing Scott Howard's face? Supernatural comedies emphasize that extraordinary powers come with costs. The transformation is sometimes painful and uncontrollable. The protagonist fears exposure, leading to comic near misses where the truth threatens to emerge. Unlike sports heroes who proudly display their skills, supernatural heroes frequently hide their true nature, a metaphor for any teenager concealing their authentic self to gain social acceptance. Both subgenres reflect 80s America's ideological preoccupations. The sports comedy emphasis on meritocracy and bootstrap success aligns with Reaganite rhetoric about opportunity and upward mobility. These films present an America where anyone can succeed through determination. Yet they do also often acknowledge the obstacles. The antagonists represent inherited privilege and corrupt systems. By championing underdogs, sports comedies offer populist critique, even as they promote individualist solutions to structural problems. Supernatural comedies engage different Reagan-era anxieties. The fear of exposure, the pressure to present a false self, and the seduction of easy success all resonate with concerns about authenticity and increasingly image-conscious culture. MTV, designer labels, and the conspicuous consumption define the decade. Supernatural comedies explore the psychic cost of valuing the appearance over the substance. Contemporary teen films continue drawing on these formulas. The Cobra Kai series demonstrates the enduring appeal of the Karate Kid's mythology, while interrogating its simplistic morality. Supernatural teen narratives have grown darker. The Teen Wolf comedy became a serious MTV drama in the 2010s, reflecting contemporary teen media's preference for heightened stakes and serialized storytelling. So now let's move on to parody. When Ski Wolf opens with Scott Bateman shitting in the woods after a laxative prank, only to be attacked by something supernatural, it might seem like a crude mockery of Teen Wolf's earnest coming-of-age transformation. But to read Ski Wolf as a mean-spirited satire would be to fundamentally misunderstand its purpose. This is a love letter written in juvenile humor and low-budget special effects by someone who genuinely adores the 80s teen comedy genre. The film's creator has encyclopedic knowledge of teen comedy formulas. Every beat is there: the loser protagonist and his misfit ski-bum friends, the wealthy villain, Ralston Zabka the 14th, the resort in jeopardy, the love interest, Katie, the supernatural transformation, the corruption arc, the climactic race, and the reconciliation. Ski Wolf fills the Mad Lib of genre tropes with outrageous details while maintaining structural fidelity. Consider how the parody operates, where Teen Wolf's Scott Howard transforms into a basketball-playing werewolf embodying confidence and prowess. Ski Wolf's Scott Bateman becomes a literal party animal. This isn't mocking Teen Wolf's puberty metaphor. It's asking, what if the supernatural change made you the life of the party instead of a sports star? The film understands that transformation in supernatural comedies is wish fulfillment, and simply reimagines that wish for a cruder sensibility. The film's affection manifests in deep, constant references. Ralston Zabka the 14th's name honors William Zabka, who played the iconic villain Johnny Lawrence in The Karate Kid, while the 14th amplifies the entitled arrogance of elitist antagonists from Ski School and Better Off Dead. One character does a Bill Murray impersonation from Caddyshack, and he's even a gardener, just like Murray's Carl Spackler. This isn't random reference dropping, it's homage demonstrating intimate familiarity with the source material. Like Teen Wolf, Ski School, and countless other 80s sports comedies, everything builds to one climactic competition. The stakes are absurdly high. The mountain, the villain's life, and a porn magazine. But they're supposed to be. These films always made teenage competitions feel like life or death struggles. Ski Wolf makes that metaphoric life or death literal, which is both ridiculous and oddly faithful to the genre's melodrama. Scott races as himself rather than as Ski Wolf, echoing Teen Wolf's moral that true victory comes from self-acceptance. Scott is winning before he wipes out, proving that he didn't need the wolf's powers. The Deus Ex Machina ending with his father's chest of gold undercuts this triumph absurdly, but even this works as commentary. 80s teen comedies often resolved conflicts too neatly, and Ski Wolf makes that convenient resolution hilariously literal and impossible to ignore. Ski Wolf could easily have been straight mockery, emphasizing how stupid or formulaic these comedies were. Instead, it accepts the formula because the formula works. The creator isn't deconstructing the genre to show its flaws. He's creating his version of the movies he loves, with all the sincerity of a kid making a backyard version of his favorite film. The fact that his version includes laxative pranks and dancing party wolves doesn't diminish that sincerity. It reveals what he finds hilarious within the framework he adores. This is fan fiction as creative devotion. It's what happens when someone loves a genre so much that they need to create within it, while honoring what made them fall in love in the first place. Every outrageous choice exists in dialogue with its inspirations. Understanding Ski Wolf as a love letter changes how we receive it. The rough edges, crude humor, and low-budget effects aren't failures exactly. They're honest expressions from somebody working with what they have to celebrate the films that shape them. In an era where parody is rooted in snark and superiority, Ski Wolf offers something rare, parody from genuine love. Not trying to kill its inspirations, but keep them alive by showing they're still worth playing with, still meaningful enough to justify recreation, however absurd. The highest form of tribute isn't always reverent imitation. Sometimes it's joyful transformation. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Never Cry Werewolf, also from 2008. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back here next episode.